DBS Treasures Annual Wealth Summit powered by CNBC-TV18.com.
We live in a world where technology touches every aspect of our lives, including how we manage our wealth. Understanding how modern finance interacts with technology is crucial for making informed decisions about investing and managing money effectively. Hello, I'm Surabhi Upadhyay. Welcome to this special episode. Today, I'm sitting down with Prashant Joshi, Managing Director and Head of Consumer Banking Group India at DBS Bank, to talk about the future of wealth creation and wealth management in the digital innovation era of finance. Prashant, thank you so much for taking out the time and for being with us on this very important conversation today. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you. Thank you, Surabhi.
You know, we want to sort of get into your mind and really understand how DBS Bank is looking at the whole wealth opportunity, this segment, and why the summit. But before that, let me just dial back and talk about the overall big picture, the India story that seems to be firing on all cylinders. What has that meant for your operations and how you've seen sort of the client profile build up over the last few years?
DBS Bank now has been in India for over 30 years. So 1994 is when we came in here. And in a way, we have had the opportunity to ride the curve with the entire India growth story, which has effectively happened post-liberalization over the last 30 years and plus, and accelerated over the last 10, 12 years, if one will. So actually, if you look at the 3-4 things, right? DBS Bank started as a pure corporate bank. And if you look at the environment, that is why large corporates, manufacturing, and the service sector was just starting up in the 90s at that point in time. And from there, the economy actually made a pivotal change and became a services-led economy. And just as that was happening, at that point, DBS Bank then also started the consumer banking and SME banking businesses in India. And actually, that has accelerated over the past 5 years as Lakshmi Vilas Bank amalgamated with us 4 years back. And then the real focus actually of DBS Bank started on the consumer and SME banking, which has been the path of growth for many institutions in this country. So from purely being a corporate bank, we have now become a corporate bank, consumer bank and SME bank. And we think that actually the SME and the consumer bank will be the drivers of the growth of the bank in future. And in the context of the consumer bank, the wealth creation in India has been absolutely phenomenal. If you look at just about probably a decade back, probably there were 30 million taxpayers who were filing tax returns. This year, probably 70 to 75 million taxpayers would have filed tax returns. And even that probably would be just 20-25% of the total households in this country. Which means the opportunity for the wealth and incomes to grow, it's still significantly higher. If you look at the nominal GDP growth in India over the past several years, it's been in double digits as well. Right? And if you see, even the equity markets have moved in step, with the nominal GDP growth rate of the country. Equally, if you look at the startup economy, and the amount of wealth that has got created, not just in big tier 1 cities in the country, but in the tier 2, tier 3 towns of the country, even there wealth creation is happening. And participation of people from all walks of life, from where the wealth management was only the preserve of the select few, now from affluent to HNIs to UHNIs.
Correct.
And some part of that, of course, this summit intends to talk to. But I think, so whichever way you look at it, the story has been quite impressive.
Oh, absolutely. And the markets have been very charitable, at least the last couple of years as well. So people are feeling good. The wealth effect is very, very visible, especially post-COVID. So when you talk about consumer banking and the wealth management opportunity, which of these segments are you looking to tap into and looking to sort of really service?
Actually, as part of our consumer banking, we call it the wealth continuum. And let me explain to you what that means. You talk about people with investable surplus, relatively small investable surplus, and those are typically coming from the affluent background, right? So we look at the affluent as one segment, which focuses on, let's say, up to 30 lakhs of investable surplus. So that's one category, the affluent category. The second category then thereafter, what we call as 30 lakhs to 6 crores, a fairly wide range, but that's what we define our treasures proposition as.
Okay.
So this is the core wealth management platform that we have.
30 lakhs to 6 crores.
6 crores, right? So that's the treasures wealth management platform. And then 6 crores plus what we call as treasures private clients.
Okay.
And these are then HNIs who are on the UHNIs, really speaking.
Okay.
Right? And who are significant investable surplus, therefore. Now, in India today, we have products, we have channels to address all these three segments.
Right.
But equally, I think what is differentiating, for DBS is its heritage, which is based in Singapore. And therefore, it becomes important for us to take advantage of that heritage.
Sure.
We have been voted the best private bank in the region now for the last 2 to 3 years, right? And clearly, so therefore, after the treasures private client segment, then the private bank, which we have in Singapore, again, for a lot of Indians, UHNIs, family offices, businessmen, Singapore is a natural destination. And we are able to then service, them as well in Singapore, through the private bank that we have.
Right.
And then we also, within Singapore, close to 1/3 of the family offices bank with DBS, right? So if this is the wealth continuum that we talk about, be it the affluent customer in India, and from here right up to the UHNIs, family offices, private bank, whichever way.
As DBS Bank has been integrating digitization, technology in your service offerings, product offerings, what are the anecdotes or the interesting lessons that you've picked up so far along the way?
Actually, we started with the DigiBank first in India in 2016. We are the pioneers in digital banking in India. And we actually at that point thought that, the entire bank will be on a phone, which has actually become a reality. 7-8 years later, actually it has become...
You don't need to go to the branch any longer, really, practically.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that brings to my first point. Although we don't hardly ever go to the branches, which is absolutely right.
Yeah.
However, customers, in addition to the digital banking comfort and convenience, do look at the branches as an assurance point.
Okay.
And that's what we also realized. We are purely digital. We had close to 2.5, 3 million customers on the DigiBank. But really, for increasing the relationship size of those customers, what we really needed was, if you will, a phygital strategy.
Okay.
And that is what happened, when we got over 500 plus branches with amalgamation with Lakshmi Vilas Bank. And then customers actually come onto the digital platforms with much more assurance and confidence.
Okay.
So in a way, having a branch network becomes a prerequisite.
Really?
For having the digital play. Frankly, we have started acquiring many more customers. Earlier, customers knew us.
Sure.
They knew us that we are the best bank in the world, we are the safest bank in Asia, so on and so forth. But the common gripe was, but I don't see you in India.
And now they can walk into a branch and get an experience.
That's right.
Okay, okay. Right. So Phygital seems to be...
Phygital is clearly one, yeah, absolutely, completely agree.
Okay. And then talk about some of the other sort of digital innovations maybe that you've been sort of putting out as part of overall consumer banking, as part of wealth. Yeah. What seems to be working?
One is a typical wealth proposition, and that's mainly for the affluent segment, what we call as Digi Portfolio.
Okay.
You cover personal finance, and you know that there is multitude of AMCs, multitude of schemes, all focusing on similar themes. Yeah. And there are so many of them. It's really difficult to choose. Yeah. And for the affluent customer mainly, it's very difficult sometimes to do the research and figure it out. Actually, on our DigiBank, we have a proposition called Digi Portfolio, which is nothing but an aggregation of mutual fund schemes in line with the risk appetite and the risk profile of the customer. So, customer just does the risk appetite mapping, and then the customer invests in a basket of mutual fund schemes.
Okay.
Then the customer doesn't need to decide which mutual fund scheme, and it is backed by research from CRISIL.
Okay.
There is a lot of credibility around it as well.
Okay.
Now, Digi Portfolio, we have seen great pickup. Okay. And it's literally a 3-click journey in which you can do the investment and track your returns over a period of time. The other product which a lot of HNIs do use, but it's more a banking product, but I'll still talk about it because that's digitally we have made great progress with that, which is a simple foreign exchange remittance. Right?
Okay.
Now, earlier you needed to fill up forms, you needed to go to the bank, and if you wanted to travel, you needed to buy the foreign. If you wanted to remit, it was a time-consuming process. Now, on the DigiBanking app, actually you can do it seamlessly within literally 3 minutes.
Wow.
Right?
Remitting money overseas.
Remitting money overseas.
Okay.
You add a beneficiary, and you can actually start transacting straight away.
We'll be back with more on this conversation in just a bit.
DBS Treasures Annual Wealth Summit powered by CNBC-TV18.com. DBS Treasures Annual Wealth Summit powered by CNBC-TV18.com.
Welcome back. You are with us on this special conversation. We're talking about the DBS Treasures Annual Wealth Summit powered by CNBC-TV18 that will take place a little later this month. And we're in conversation with Prashant Joshi here in India. So Prashant, just to sort of take forward the point on digital and technology, of course, Gen AI is the buzzword, right? So I just want to know if is it too early, or are banks like DBS Bank already looking at the possibilities that AI can unleash when it comes to consumer banking and wealth?
Data analytics and AI is at the center of what we do. Particularly in the DigiBank that I was talking about. Last year for our customers, we generated what we call as intelligent nudges.
Okay.
Where actually at the back end, we analyze the customer's spend behavior, income behavior, investment behavior,
Okay.
and actually suggest to the customer what the customers could potentially do if they wish to. We call these are intelligent nudges,
Okay.
or the next best nudges. And actually our customers keep seeing these insights, these nudges, through our AI platform.
Okay.
And it's extremely powerful. And close to 60% of the customers on the platform engage with the nudges, which means
That's
they make
a very
sense.
high engagement rate. I mean, as a prompt coming and telling me that I should do it, and for me to actually act on that prompt, that means it's really working.
Yeah, you first look at it and then say, okay, it seems to make sense. So that's the most important thing. So the engagement rate is pretty high as far as that is concerned. And then now we are looking at how can Gen AI help in this.
Okay.
Right? So I think that work we have just started.
Okay.
But data analytics and AI is actually at the center of everything that we do.
And how does that change the sort of the business mix in terms of the feet on the street that you have to plan, or let's say the relationship managers that you have to plan? Because it's always about, how do human beings and technology work in tandem?
What we believe is that the affluent customer actually is happy receiving the nudges.
Okay.
And acting on those nudges.
Okay.
But as you go up the ladder,
Okay.
as you become a Treasures customer or a Treasures private client customer, then the conversations need to be much more sophisticated.
Okay.
And for those conversations, then a relationship manager is certainly required. And actually customers do expect that.
Okay.
And for this also, there is a trend in wealth management which is clearly come in over the past 5 years in particular, which is responsible. Which is customers from routine equity investments, from routine mutual fund investments, are also looking at alternative investments.
Right.
Be those real estate funds, maybe those are private equity funds, and with various other themes.
Right.
And they come with much higher ticket size for the right reasons. The customer needs to have the risk appetite and the understanding of the product to be able to do it. But as customers become more and more sophisticated, they find it good to have the insights and the nudges on the basis of AI, but they would actually still like a relationship manager at the other end who is able to make sense of that.
Okay.
And for that purpose, then we actually fashion these nudges. We send then the nudges to the relationship manager, and suggesting to them what's the next best conversation ideally you should have with the customer.
So basically the relationship manager uses that data analytics created or generated nudge.
That's right.
And then gets the customer to sort of act upon it depending on their needs and their risk appetite and their goals. Got that. So beyond AI and more integration of technology in wealth management, any other major trends that you see coming up on the horizon in this particular segment?
Yeah, I talked about the alternative investments, obviously, which is a big trend, which is going to drive the markets and the wealth management industry. And the second,
Can you expand on that a little bit? Because you typically till now thought of AIFs and alternate investing only for the UHNIs.
yeah.
But now is it also sort of percolating down and coming into the the rest of the spectrum?
No, I think it is going to be restricted to the HNI and the UHNI segment.
Okay.
And now the minimum size of alternative investments also is 1 crore.
That's right.
And to the point which I earlier made, that these are inherently going to be more risky investments. And therefore, you need to have the understanding and the appetite, both.
Sure.
Right? So that's number one. But another thing, which really hasn't changed, and I don't want to call it a trend, but something which is consistent and which is what DBS also stands for, which is that irrespective of what happens, there are 3 things that a customer expects from a wealth manager. One is competence.
Yes.
Second is integrity.
Yes.
Because markets are what they are.
Correct.
Right? And when we speak with our customers, we say, okay, no one can assure you of any returns. But what as a wealth manager we can assure you of is integrity. And the competence and integrity will lead to trust.
Right. I was just wondering where trust fits into the mix, so that you answered it. Yeah.
And if you have competence and integrity, customers will trust you.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And I think a lot of things will change in the wealth management landscape, I'm sure. But these 3 things won't.
They will be the forever constants. Got that. It's also a fairly, exciting and, might I add, a crowded market, right? Because there are foreign banks, there are domestic banks that are very active on this side. Everybody senses that big opportunity that you spoke of. So what do you think will be the defining factors that will differentiate, the top rung winners from maybe, let's say, position 2, position 3?
Yeah. I think I talked about trust. Yeah. So I think that is first and foremost, right? So I won't talk about it again, but that is going to be the first most important factor. Yeah. The second thing, I think we genuinely need to have, and it's a fashionable thing to say, that customer first. But customers' interests as an industry, if we don't put it first, right, I think we will struggle. Right? Okay. And therefore, I think anyone who puts customer interests first is more likely to win than not. Okay. And we do like to believe that, with the most trusted brand, with the safest bank, with the world's best bank, world's best digital bank, we are in a position to gain that trust and drive, on that basis, then drive the growth. Okay, and that's very good to hear from a customer standpoint as well, that ultimately, even if that's how big institutions are thinking, then my interests, I know, will be protected and will be aligned with the interests of the institution. That brings me now to the event, the on-ground event that DBS is planning. So tell us more about it. What was the thought process like? Why the need to start the first ever Wealth Summit? Yeah, I think first ever is important. This is the first ever Wealth Summit that DBS is organizing here. And as initially we talked about, right, that there couldn't have been a better time in terms of the growth trajectory, the sustainable growth trajectory that India has seen, the amount of wealth that is getting created in the country, and it's across the entire country, not just limited to a few cities. And therefore, I think this is the right time in terms of organizing the Wealth Summit. So that's number one. Number two, of course, as I talked about our Singaporean heritage, that allows us our entire wealth continuum to be demonstrated and to be positioned, with the HNIs and UHNIs in this country. And eventually, I think we would wish for this forum to become the thought leader in the wealth management industry. Right. That would be great. I mean, I'm looking forward to hearing a lot of the sessions that'll play out. What kind of conversations are you hoping to stir up? And you targeting any particular themes on investing or any types of new innovative products? What can someone look out for and watch out for? I think there will be 3 constituents in this. One obviously there will be a lot of focus on the macro economics. Okay. Right? Because that is what essentially leads to creation. Drives everything. Right? Yeah. So one part will be that. The second part obviously will be about what is right for the investor. Okay. And how do wealth managers make sure that what is right actually gets delivered. So wealth management practitioners will actually come and we'll talk about that. Okay. And then the third, amongst one of the trends in investing also is ESG. Oh yes, absolutely. Right? It's an important trend in investing. In fact, in Singapore now, we don't have it in India right now, but in Singapore, our RMs are actually able to tell the customer what's the extent of their carbon footprint through their investments. Oh wow, so carbon footprint of the investment portfolio. That's right. That's really gold. That's right. Yeah. and then the customer can start making the right choices.
Right. So just give us some anecdotes from what the Singapore experience is teaching you. ESG is clearly big. We understand that.
Yeah.
But are customers really taking it that seriously? Sustainability and doing the right things for the planet is one. Maxing out and getting the maximum gain on my portfolio is another. So is the marriage really happening?
I think where it has started now is that customers are at least allocating a part of their portfolio to ESG investing.
Okay.
Right? I think that's the right step in the first place, right? And I guess as all of us start not just talking about ESG, but also acting on it, I think it will become even more important to my point. But as I said, starting with the allocation specifically with say funds or investments meant for ESG is a good starting point, right?
So here in India, you're seeing those conversations happen between
the
RMs
conversation. That's right. The conversations have started, and
Okay.
as more and more products come in, I'm reasonably sure that customers again, quite like behavior elsewhere, will also start talking about allocating some part of their investments and eventually growing them.
Since we're talking so much about wealth, I can't help but ask you, and I know it's a wrong question to the wrong person, we'll get more answers during the summit, but when you talk to all your relationship managers, all the experts who are doing the product selection, any major trend, any major sort of wealth idea, and I'm not saying for the next 12 months or 13 months, but what's kind of top of mind when you're talking to some of your biggest clients in terms of just, this is the big trend to follow if you're talking wealth management?
If you're talking wealth management, staying invested in India is the only trend that one needs to follow.
I think that's a fantastic note to end on, a very, very optimistic one, and I can't, argue. All right, Prashant, fabulous conversation. Thank you very much, and I'm already quite excited to hear what all those invigorating panels are going to throw up at the Wealth Summit. So thanks for joining us today, and see you soon. And viewers, that's a note for you as well. See you soon at the DBS Treasures Annual Wealth Summit powered by CNBC TV18, and these are on-ground events. They will take place in Mumbai and in New Delhi. So look out for all the insights that we get from them. Thank you so much for watching.
DBS Treasures Annual Wealth Summit powered by CNBC-TV18.com.